We're back, and today I get to review light guns. All right, so in regards to light guns for arcade cabinets or for at-home computers for use on a monitor or TV, there's two brands that usually come up. The Sinden light guns and the retro shooters. Those two seem to be the leading brands people are buying at the moment. And there's usually a debate on which one people should lead towards buying. So I'm going to do a review. I own both, and I'm going to see which one I prefer and why that is. So let's get into it. I'm going to load up my Sinden light gun on my arcade console. And let's see what it is that I find. Boom. All right, so before we get into the shooting and killing of zombies, let's just go over the Sinden light gun itself and some of the software to run the hardware on your systems. So here we have the blue version of the Sinden light gun. Come in a variety of colors. I believe it's blue, red, gray, and black. It's built fairly well. It's got a little bit of weight to it. So if you like the feel of an actual gun, it's got that weight to it. I believe it is because of the built-in vibration. Unfortunately, this does not have a sliding rack. Does not give you the recoil and live slide for those that are looking for that. But I do find that the feedback when you pull the vibration on your hand gun, it does simulate very well as if it does have a live sliding recoil. The software, you can tweak and change the settings on it. It has 4 buttons located on both sides, as well as a D-pad for your navigating of any system. As well, on the bottom here, it's hard to show you this, but it does have a sliding reload or, 203 grenade launcher, any of the things you want to customize it in your game. It does slide back. It's got some good feedback as well. So yeah, that is the hardware. This is the software. So the software takes a little getting used to. It does require you to be a little tech savvy. It's not a plug and play system. So if you're looking for the plug and play system, shy away from the Sinden. It does require a little bit of knowledge and trial and error and could be buggy at times. But once you figure out the software, it actually does hone in pretty well. Here's the startup of the software here. You do need to run the software, unfortunately, in the background. If you do want to play a game or ROM or whatever it is that you're doing, it needs to be loaded previously to the game. Otherwise, it does not work. This gun does not have a light bar or a sensor. It runs off of its camera built into the gun. I'll go into that in a little bit. But right now, I'll just show you some of these options you have here. Here's the main page. It'll show you the actual gun and what it is that the camera is picking up on your gun. You can see it in real time. There's a lot of options here of things that you can do. The off-screen reload, and you can set your recoil to single or multi-action shot for games, such as your Terminator Salvation, where you have that consistent, trigger feel. You can set these things that way. Again, it does require some knowledge and some savviness to operate. But you can see that the hardware is pretty good, pretty serious in here. Now, Sinden runs off of a white border. The button here on the gun, if I were to click it, I'll show you real quick, creates a white border around your screen. Now, the aspect ratios can change. to suit what it is that you're displaying your game on, but it does require if you have a white border. Now what that white border does is that it then calibrates what your gun sees. If you look in that bottom box, in that blue, it is showing me what it is that is in the field of aim with my gun. Now, if you do not have that white border activated, it does become a little, you can see my mouse, it does become a little more spotty. So it will require you to run a white border to play the games, which is why you don't need a sensor on it. So for those that think that the border would be troublesome or annoying, might be a reason to shy away from the gun. I personally don't mind it. I think it's pretty cool. Less hardware to plug in on top of your TV. You don't have to mount anything. You don't have to have these little digital, IR sensors in the corners. So just something to consider. Here we can also go into the button assignments. So this is pretty cool. You can modify what it is that it's replicating. So you shake, on your trigger, it's your mouse click and your pump action. So, you have some customization that you can and need to do. You have the ability to adjust your recoil. Here is where we're saying you can enable and get that feedback when you pull the trigger, or you can actually disable it and just have the gun stationary, no feedback at all. So you have options. You can change and adjust the level. As you can see here, I like mine's pretty strong. So, and you can change the delay between each trigger pull. There's a calibration screen, pretty self-explanatory. You follow the prompt and then you shoot and calibrate your gun. If need be, I find that the Sinden, because of the installed camera, you don't really need to use this option. It's pretty accurate for the most part. I've never really had to come in here. It does a very good job at tracking and accuracy. But if you want to set an offset or figure these things out, it'll do this for you on its own when you do that calibration, or you can come in and set it up yourself. You also have the ability to do firmware upgrades as they come out, or if you have to, for whatever reason, uninstall your device or relocate it, your abilities to install firmware is also available to you here. And the ability to adjust a outside pedal, you can do so as well. Time crisis type of games, you can set a pedal, or you can map it to one of the buttons. I like to map it to the side here, one of these buttons here, and it can simulate the pedal action in games like Time Crisis. With that being said, this software does have to run. I tend to have it running in the background at all times. Here it is. That is your cursor. And here is the Sinden Lightgun software that needs to be running at all times if you want the gun to operate. Time to shoot. I loaded up a game on my arcade console and we're going to try this thing out. So here we are. Sinden Lightgun game. I'm going to start this up. I purposely did not load up the white border that I mentioned before to show you what it is that this does for the gun. Load up the game. So here you can see here I don't have the white border lit up and I have the gun aiming, and you can see that I have the cursor set and it doesn't pick up the cursor very well because I have yet to enable that border. So hit the button for a border. Now we have a white border, and you'll see now that the gun becomes a little more responsive, a little more accurate on the screen. But I do find with the Sinden, the one problem that I have is that if you have any outside lighting, as I do, too much lighting can interfere with how the gun responds. You can see here in the mid-game, it's not responding well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shut off my overhead lighting and show you the difference that it now makes with that. Sinden also has the issue. You can tell there, if you're too close, now you have issues as well. You have to be 2-3 feet away, and you can see here's a sweet spot, and now the gun is perfect. It's super accurate, super responsive. It does its job well. You can see here, we'll aim down, aim down the sights, and you can see the gun does a fantastic job. No need for calibration because, again, the sensor is in the gun and it does a great job at calibrating itself. But the one quarrel I have with this gun is if you have too much lighting in a room, it interferes with the sensor, or if you're too close to the screen and don't have that sweet spot distance, then you start to run into trouble with accuracy. But besides those problems, if you're able to hone in and figure all that out, this gun is extremely responsive and perfect setting, super accurate. Seems to not fail me in any other way. So there's your Sinden. Retro shooter time. Let's dive in. So over here, got the case that it originally came in. Here is the gun, and it comes with a pedal. So you get 2 of each. You get 2 guns, 2 pedals. Here's the gun. It's made extremely well. Lightweight, not heavy, not too light. Just like the Sinden, it's got the buttons on the side. It's got your little analog joystick instead of a D-pad. And it's got this convenient button that you can remap if you want to. But it's on the bottom, which you can use as a reload. Then on the other side of the gun, you have your full auto, semi-auto, and your non-slide. This gun has an actual racking slide. It does pull back when you pull the trigger, which I will show you in a little bit, which is super convenient. It does not have the Picatinny rail, so you can't put any of modifications on it. It does have it in the front, so you can put a front grip or, you know, a laser or something if you want, which is pretty cool as well. But I'm going to show you the rest of the hardware that comes in. You also get a fisheye lens for each of the guns, which is pretty cool. It allows you to use the gun at a closer range, especially if you have a big TV, which I'm going to be using for this one. And the reason I have to show you it on my TV is because it also brings these. Now you need to place these sensors on all 4 corners of your television to create the border that it's going to use to then calibrate your gun. So there is no software with this. You just have the gun and you have the device that you need to plug into. You can plug in the pedals and the other guns. This gets powered itself, so unfortunately you need a plug to plug that in. But besides having all that hardware, once you're all set up and conveniently tucked away, this is your gun. And there it is. And then you have your non-kick. You see, it's super convenient, located right there, so you can switch between and toggle between which way you want to, full auto, semi-auto, or no. And then you said the rack slide back. It does feel great. Feels like a legit gun. So I'm going to load up a system and show you how this guy works and see how accurate it can be. All right, there we are, loaded up. Same game. I will get this started and show you just like I did with the Sinden. There is the crosshair, and there, as you can see, beautifully aligned. I did insert the fisheye lens because the TV and the monitor is so big, I had to put this lens in. It was sporadic and crazy, but now that I have that in there, I can stand pretty close to this thing or back up pretty far. As you can see there, this thing is still super dialed in, which is great thanks to the sensors on the side. Beauty to this gun. Semi-auto is set. This game runs in a full auto, so I can really quick toggle the switch, and now we're set full auto. Super accurate, as you can see there. It's a pretty awesome gun. Works well. It's straight out of the box, no software, plug and play. It's actually very good. Alright, so now that we did a quick review on how the guns work and what they come with, I figured I'd just sum it all up and show you the differences so that maybe it can make a little bit of an influence on your decision on which system you'd buy. We have the retro shooters system as well as the Sinden. So price points, usually what people want to go for first. They're fairly close. Sinden is a little more expensive in the essence of that you're just getting the gun. Whereas in the retro shooter, you get the pedal if you buy the kit, as well as the fisheye lens. But the price point is pretty much the same. I think retro shooter right now, the system is on sale. So you get 2 guns and 2 pedals and fisheye lenses. I think it's $270. The Sinden, I think you just get the 2 guns, and I think they're priced somewhere around $300. So very similar. If the retro shooter was not on sale, I think it's also $300 as well. So in essence, they're pretty close in price point. So not that big of a difference. Functionality. If you like to tweak, if you like the software, you want to change the lighting perspective or certain things, Sinden is the way to go. For those that are tech savvy, this gun, there's a lot more options and things than you can do with the Sinden. Whereas the retro shooter, right out of the box, plug and play, more hardware. You have to plug these guys into a unit, which then gets powered on its own and then into your PC or whatever thing. And then you also need the 4 IR sensors. So there's a lot more hardware, but once you get past all the hardware, it's plug and play. It works super accurate. As you can see, you don't even need to do the calibrations. So this gun is more of a straight out of the box. If you're not tech savvy, go with this guy. Design of the gun. This guy I think is awesome. The buttons are just nice and smooth. You have that reed located right at the bottom. The picking rail on the front is really cool. I have not printed one out, but you can actually get real, or you can print out front mounts. So I'll show you. I have done one for the Sinden because on the Sinden, it does have the picking rail at the top as well as in the front. So it gives you more customization on the gun. The reason why you can't do that with the retro shooter is because it does have a sliding rack, which is pretty awesome, but it removes the rail. So I'll show you on an actual Sinden gun that I used. I pre-printed these myself. You can hold the front mount, pretty cool, and then you can have your stock as well. So pretty awesome. You can turn your handgun into an assault rifle. So it's pretty cool if you're into that kind of stuff. Again, with the rail, you can attach this. You can't do it on the retro shooter. So this works well with the front mount because you have a stock. I have not attached the front mount to this gun because just hanging on the front mount to me doesn't really work that way, but you do have the option to do that. The one thing I did not explain before is Sinden does come in the 4 colors. You have blue, red, gray, and black. Retro shooters as well come in different colors. Just like, I think it's the same 4 if I'm not mistaken. But the cool part to these guns is that the slides can be taken off. This gun was completely gray at one point. The other gun was black. I thought it'd be cool to just swap out the racks. So then you can customize colors, which is pretty cool. So with all that being said, that's pretty much the scope on both of these guns. It all boils down to, in my opinion, whether you're tech savvy or not, whether you want to have the options to change certain things, or if you want a plug and play system. Sinden is located out of state. I'm in the US, so if you are out of the US, it is an international. It takes a long time to get here. You have to pay extra cost for the shipping. If you're local in the US, they do have a US base. So this guy came a lot quicker. I was able to get this, if I'm not mistaken, within 2 weeks, maybe even less. I forget, but I think it was 2 weeks. The Sinden took me months. I know they have back orders and stuff when I did order and all that, but you know, that's also a factor for you in, you know, timely fashion, or if you're trying to run a business, something you might want to consider as well. So I figured I'd give you all that information. But all in all, here are the two guys. They both work extremely well. Accurate for the sense of a light gun and what it is supposed to do and its purpose. They are extremely accurate. They are extremely fun, and they bring back that arcade feel. Both guns are just great feel in your hands. It just brings that nostalgia back to someone like me. So if you're looking for a light gun, these are your two options. There you go. See you next time.